Sometimes when I get a call to fix something, I don't always get all the information I need. Of course, most of the time, I prefer not knowing any of the details only because sometimes that information only serves to get in the way. The patient always lies, but in this case, the owner might be mistaken. Unfortunately, this is one of those times that I wish they had told me something because it would have really helped out to not waste my precious time. In today's video, we're going to be looking at this Craftsman branded string trimmer, and the problem is that I know absolutely nothing about it. I was given this trimmer by a good friend who got it from their coworker. I bet you thought I was going to say it was from one of my 1,000 coworkers, didn't you? Well, not this time. Now, I'm going to try and repair this trimmer, but yours might be different, so this might not work on yours. So if things are not working out for you, like in the video, please ask about it, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. Now, since I don't know anything about this trimmer, it's best that I look over it and assess its overall condition, and my first impression of this trimmer is that it's in really good condition. Now, by the way it looks and lack of damage to it, I don't think it's all that old, so hopefully it's not already broken. However, you'd be surprised to know just how quickly someone can destroy one of these. And not to spoil the surprise for you, but this one barely pulls through. The first thing that I want to do is to check all the fluids in the engine and find out if there's an issue with either one. Now, being a 4-cycle engine, there's supposed to be a few ounces of oil in the engine, so hopefully we won't be disappointed in what we find. Let's start with what's inside the fuel tank first. Hopefully we find some in there because it'll let us know if it might have had a problem with it. Unfortunately, it is empty, which is good news because it means the fuel system might not be gummed up, but like I said, we won't be able to tell if their fuel might have had an issue. So here's the most important part we needed to check, and so far it's not good. After removing the plug, I don't see any visible oil in the engine. According to the sticker on the back cover, it should be level with the opening, but as you can see, or as you can't see, there's nothing there. That fact is confirmed when I tried to pour out the oil, and this is what happened. And what do you know, there's only a dribble of oil in the engine, and I have to wonder just how long it's been used like this, and if the engine might be damaged beyond repair. There's really nothing left to do but to put the correct amount of oil into the engine and then try starting it to find out if this project is really done for. Now at this point, I really don't have any hope for this engine. My only guess is that it was used in the wrong orientation and the oil made its way into the combustion chamber only to be burned away. Now after adding the oil to the engine, I then pulled on the rope to see just how much compression might be left, and surprisingly, it's a lot better than what I was expecting. After that, I'll then put some fuel into the carb's throat and then try starting it. Hopefully we have some luck, otherwise I'll have to inform the owner of what happened to it and how it could have been avoided. Well, surprisingly, it started and ran, but with it puffing out a lot of blue smoke, I have to wonder just how much oil might have made it into the engine. And since we know that the engine has the ability to run, I might as well put some gasoline into the fuel tank and see if it'll start and run on its own. You never know, maybe this engine isn't as bad off as we think, and someone got really lucky, at least in terms of lawn equipment. Now after pressing the purge bulb a few times, it seems like the carb is in working condition, which is the best news we've gotten so far. And just for your information, it looks like the port closer to the bulb is the filter line, while the blue-green line that's on the port further away from the bulb is the return line back to the tank. However, if your bulb is not filling up with some fuel, then it could mean there's an issue with the carb and it needs to be serviced or even replaced. So yet again, I've been surprised by this engine. I thought this thing had to be gone. The only thing I could guess is that the low to no oil condition must be a recent occurrence and that it's not as bad as it looks. Now since this trimmer didn't come with an attachment, all I need to do is to take one off of the other machines, put it on there and test it out. Now I'm not really sure why it didn't come with one, but then again, this trimmer didn't come with any information, so I guess it's par for the course. However, this is the part of the story where things go from good to bad, and I wasn't expecting it at all. Now, if you've been working on small engines for quite some time, you'll recognize what brand of attachment this is, but it should still work for this power head, at least I hope so. So it looks like there's nothing wrong with this trimmer and everything works like it should. It starts easily and runs great, at least with the attachment that I had to put on there, but it does work. So why in the world would my friend's coworker want me to waste my time looking at a working string trimmer then? Well, if you hadn't guessed it by the runtime of this video, there's more to this trimmer than just no oil in the engine, and it's something that I've only seen once before, and it's quite rare, at least for other brands. Now, before I show you what I discovered about this trimmer, I do want to try and start it using my jump starter. Now, if you saw my other video about a troy-bilt trimmer that also had the jump start system on it, I was having an issue getting the jump starter to work the way it was supposed to. So let's see if it's still going to act up on a different trimmer, and if it does start, I'll try and use it to trim some grass. So the noises you just heard are not normal. It should not sound like that at all. And what's happening is that the ratcheting system on the shaft for the starter is slipping, so it is definitely not working, and I need to either fix it or replace it. Now I still want to try and use the trimmer, so I'll start it with the pull rope, but wait till you see what happens next. So as you just saw and heard, the trimmer head is not spinning, and from the sound of the clutch drum freewheeling after shutdown, it means we either have an issue with the drum or the drive cable. Now, when I rotate the trimmer head, I should be able to see the clutch drum, which is visible through the guard, rotate with the head, but as you can see, it's not doing that. That means more than likely there's an issue with how the drive shaft couples with the clutch drum. Now, I do want to test and make sure that the clutch is working by starting the engine, and the drum should spin with it. So as you can see with the engine on and revving, the clutch is engaging the drum and spinning it, but after shutting it down, you can hear the drum spinning freely. That means we need to get to this part of the drive line and see what's going on with it. Hopefully the drive shaft is not the issue, but at this point I'm just hoping it's something simple. After pulling the shaft and the cover away from the engine, we can now see the clutch drum and also the part that makes contact with the drive shaft. Now what sometimes happens is that the square part of the coupler will get out of shape, and instead of being square, it'll end up being round. But after getting a closer look inside this part of the drum, I don't think that's the case here. So if it's not that bad, what about the other end of the drive shaft then? Now looking at the end of the drive shaft that makes contact with this part, it shows that it's still square and that it still has all of its corners just like it's supposed to. So unfortunately, that's not the problem either. So if everything looks good, what else could be the issue? So what I think is happening is that the end of the drive shaft is simply not making contact with the clutch drum. And the reason why is because I think the shaft has quite a bit of play in it. Basically, the shaft will sometimes couple with the clutch, but if it wants to, it can move away from it, at which point the power from the engine will not make it to the trimmer head. In fact, you can see just how much play there is at this end of the shaft. That should give you a visual of what the other end of the shaft is doing. So if this end of the shaft moves too far forward away from the engine, it will no longer make contact with the clutch. So how do I plan on fixing it then? Now there are a couple of different ways to fix this problem, and one of them would be to make the drive shaft about a ½ inch longer. But since I can't do that, instead my plans are to cut off about ½ an inch from this end of the outer shaft. So what this is going to do is allow the clutch to still make contact with the drive shaft by moving the engine forward. Now I will let you know this is probably not the best idea. The reason why is because it's not addressing the root cause for how this issue even came up. Now more than likely the upper drive shaft support has somehow moved forward, allowing the drive shaft to move more than it's supposed to. Now what I should be doing is taking the upper shaft apart and trying to move the support back to its original position. Unfortunately, I've never tried to fix it that way before, and the way I'm doing it now does work, so that's what I'm going to do. So here's the ironic part. I already have a Craftsman trimmer just like this one in the warehouse that has the same exact issue. So for that one, I do intend on doing the fix that I just mentioned. Now the other reason I'm doing it this way for this trimmer is because it's not mine, it's somebody else's, and I know this fix is going to work. So what you're looking at now is the upper support for the drive shaft, and as you can tell, the way it's installed is not fixed and has the ability to move forward over time. Now, I would have to find a way to grab this part and move it backwards towards the engine by at least half an inch or so. But instead, I'm going to cut that amount off from this end of the drive shaft, same basic concept, but from a different perspective. Don't worry, when I fix the other trimmer with the same exact issue, you'll get to see how I do it. Hopefully though, I don't mess that one up. So after putting the shaft and the cover back onto the engine, I'm going to turn the lower part of the drive shaft to confirm that it's making contact with the clutch by watching it spin under the cover, which it does. After that, I'm going to finish installing the cover back onto the engine and then start to install the rest of the fasteners. I also have to make 2 new openings in the shaft since the shaft is now in a new position from where it used to be. Now just be careful doing this because you only want to make an opening in the outer shaft and not drill into the drive shaft. Now I know some of the viewers will not agree with how I fix this machine because it's not addressing the root cause, and for that I completely agree with you. Now if I saw someone just making it work and not fixing what caused the issue to begin with, I'd have a few things to say as well. And to be honest, I can respect your choice to say that you disagree with it because it's your right. However, I also stand by my decision only because it is my choice to do so. After getting the trimmer back together and spinning the head, you can see the clutch drum spinning under the cover, which is exactly what it should be doing. There's not much left to do now except try and start it and see if it works. So it looks like shortening the upper shaft by about half an inch worked out just fine, and to be honest, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. So why not do it the right way other than choice? The biggest reason is because I see the issue as a flaw in the design of this part, and shortening the shaft in my mind is a completely reasonable fix. But what if I move the upper support back into position without securing it? Well, there's a good chance that it's going to happen again. But if the outer shaft is cut down, no matter how much the upper support moves, it's still going to work. So my question is, how would you have fixed this trimmer? By doing what I did, or by moving the upper support back into position, or is there a different way that I haven't thought about yet? Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.